Okay, good. So good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for attending, and also thanks to the organizer for inviting me. So today I'm going to present a study that I recently published in with a precious collaboration with the people listed here. So the study is focused on the magma migration into the mid to lower crust during rifting. So for this, I will start with this sketch by Ebinger depicting the continental rifting during the incipient continental breakup phase. So you can see that during lithospheric thinning, we can have mantle upwelling and the compression melting that generate large volumes of magma. This is not always true, but this is a process which is common during magma-rich continental rifting. So, according to studies of imaging of the seismic imaging of the crust, there's also chemical analysis of eruptive product. The magma which is extracted from the upper mantle tend to migrate toward the upper crustal level during rifting, and here it ponds in the form of a network of seal-like bodies. So these seal-like bodies are important for several reasons. One of these is that they are the source of the magma that feed deck intrusion during rifting episode, and we have seen this in several situations. For example, during the ongoing rifting episode in Iceland. Here you see an example of the Grindavik eruption of 2023 from Sigmundsson, but also in other case studies. For example, during the Dabbaho rifting episode lasted 5 years between 2005 and 2010. Another reason is that the heating related to this caused by this seal can reduce the yield stress of the crust, and they weaken the crust and promote strain increasing. So while these magma bodies are very important, we still know little about the way magma is extracted and tend to form these seal-like bodies in the mid to lower crust. So in this study, we tackle this question by studying a specific portion of the Afar Rift. So we are again in the East African Rift system, so we're a bit north respect to the study area of Adina. So the Afar depression is this triangular depression which is forming due to the separation of the Arabian and Somalian plate from the Nubian plate. And this separation occurs along three main rift branches, which are the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden, and the main Ethiopian rift. Extension in Central Afar is mainly accommodated along discrete segments, which are called magmatic segment, where this extension occurs through dominant diking and faulting. And here, these magmatic segments are highlighted in red. The study area of the area that we focus on is the Central Afar, which is the area of interaction between the inland portion of the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. And here you can see a close-up on the area. Here, the air extension is northeast directed with the velocities up to 20 millimeters per year, more or less. And this extension is mainly accommodated by the Dabbaho Mandarara segment, which is the locus of the rifting episode that I mentioned before, and by the Asalgabe magmatic segment, where the last diking episode dates back to 1978. In between these two segments, we have an area of dominant faulting, which is approximately 100 kilometers wide. And this faulting generated a series of an echelon grabens. Here I listed the major one. And faulting is accompanied by a moderate to low seismicity, which is here represented by this red dots, while we don't have evidences of recent volcanic activity in this area. Despite this, receiver function studies in this area have shown the presence of an anomalously thick crust, which is between 20 to 30 kilometers in Central Afar, but also high ratios between VP and VS seismic velocities. that has been interpreted as caused by a cross which is heavily intruded by either mafic rock or melt or both. So for this study, we used the INSAR technique, which is an acronym for Interferometric Synthetic Aperture Radar. And this is a satellite-based technique that can measure motions by differentiating the phase acquisition made before and after a deforming event. And these ground motion are measured with respect to the satellite line of sight, are motions away from or toward the satellite, and are represented by cycles of fringe, of colored fringe, whose frequency depends on the amplitude of deformation. The INSAR satellite has two viewing geometries are known as ascending when the satellite orbits from south to north, and descending orbit when the satellite passes on the same area from north, orbiting from north to south. So by combining these two geometry, we can solve the components of the formation. The product of the INSAR techniques is called an interferogram. Here, an interferogram. Here you can see an example of an interferogram, and in this interferogram we are still seeing the inflation of a seal, of the seal that fed the dike intrusion of Grindavik of 2023. We can also make a step further with this technique, and we can combine interferograms from acquisition made over longer time period to reduce the noise present in the INSAR signal and also resolve the time evolving behavior of ground deformation. And we can obtain time series of incremental and cumulative deformation or maps of the average surface velocities. So for this study, we used the European Sentinel-1 satellite, and we combine acquisition made between 2014 and 2021, and we used this acquisition to create velocity maps and time series of cumulative deformation. I mentioned before that we can combine ascending and descending orbits to solve the 3D deformation. Actually, this is not fully true, because the INSAR satellite is more sensitive to the vertical and east-west deformation, while the north-south component is poorly resolved because it's in the same direction of the orbit. But we can jointly invert INSAR with GPS measurement and with the aid of a triangular mesh, which in our case has a spacing of 3 kilometers, to solve the full 3D velocity field. So here you see the GPS that we use in this area, and in this red box is the study area that we focus on for our analysis. We also perform an INSAR modeling by jointly inverting ascending and descending loss velocity maps to model the sources of the observed deformation. So here you see the results of the INSAR time series analysis. Here in map view, you see the average surface velocities from ascending on the left and descending orbit on the right, with negative values indicating a decrease in the satellite to ground distance, which is also known as range. So a range decrease is observed in both ascending and descending, which is suggesting motion mainly characterized by a vertical component, and which in this case is an uplift component. The uplift is mainly focusing in 4 areas, and we extracted 4 time series from 4 pixels in this area. And here you see the time series from ascending orbit and descending orbit. The ascending one is a bit more noisy. We also have some gaps in map view, and but also a temporal gap between 2017 and 2018. But the descending track is very continuous and shows very well the descending trend that started sometime between the end of 2016 and the beginning of 2017. So we performed a cross-correlation analysis of pairs of time series, and this cross-correlation analysis shows that the deformation started simultaneously in these 4 main areas, which are distant up to 5 kilometers. So the 3D velocity field shows better this 4 uplift pattern with values of 5 millimeters per year focus at 4 main grabens, which are the Mino, the Rela Gagade, Alol, and Assal. This uplift is accompanied by horizontal velocities up to 25 millimeters per year, which are caused by the northeastward regional extension in the area. So this focus uplift in beneath 4 grabens can be, in an extensional setting, can be explained by intrusion of magma in the crust. So we try to model this deformation using 4 rectangular sources reproducing 4 seals. We jointly inverted ascending and descending. Here you are seeing just the observed model and residual for the descending track. So our model is best fit by 4 seals, which are elongated in a northwest direction, which is the same direction of the rift of the rift system in this area. And
you have 11 minutes now.
Okay, thank you. So these seals are located at progressively shallow depth, going from northwest to southeast. And this shallowing of the seals also feed the shallowing of the crust, which in this case range between 30 kilometers close to Imino to 22 kilometers beneath the Assalgabe graben. So 2 of these 2 seals have been modeled to be close to the Moho, which range here 30 kilometers at Imino and 22 beneath Assalgabe, while 2 other seals have been modeled at a depth between 10 to 15 kilometers, which correspond to the brittle ductile transition in this area. So we have larger, these red bars here represent the uncertainty in our depth estimation, with larger uncertainties for the deeper seal. But our location of the depth are in good agreement with the independent geophysical data. As I mentioned before, this area is characterized by IV-PVS ratio being close to the seal at Imino, indicating melt in the crust, but also the other seal farther to southeast match pretty well the presence of seal which has been alighted by relocation of low magnitude earthquakes by previous studies, for example, by Dubreral 2007 here in Assalgabe. To summarize all this observation in a kind of model that can explain our results. So what we observe is the simultaneous inflation of 4 seals, and which are distant each other. And this simultaneous inflation can be explained by them sharing a pressure connection between one or multiple mantle source. And so an hypothesis could be that a sudden pressurization of the seal network due to arrival of magma could have caused the simultaneous uplift in central Afar. So this episodic inflow of magma into the lower crust can be a way by which magma migrates and is added into the crust during continental rifting. So this is one of the few direct observation in a rift context, but actually this is not a new process, clearly. Something similar has been observed, for example, in the Galapagos Islands, where a pore pressure stress transfer has been hypothesized by using INSAR during the time period of 2017 and 2022 between seals feeding volcanoes which are separated by similar distances of our study area. Or, for example, by similar to the network of seals, which has been imaged by precise relocation of low magnitude earthquakes between Hawaii before the activity of 2019 and 2022. So similar processes can explain our observation in a rift context. So I concluded with this, and I thank you for attending. So if you are interested to the full story, you can also read this paper on nature communication. So thank you.
Thanks a lot, Alessandro.
Thank you.
Nice talk. Room is open for questions. While people are thinking, I have a question.
Yeah.
These networks that you hypothesize in the end, I'm I'm curious how they work. So they have to be pressurized magma connections, which means that the magma in there has no time to solidify and cool down. So they need to have a certain size to be active for longer times, at least during the times that these sills that you see have been in place. How do you think this network works?
So yes, there are two hypotheses. One hypothesis could be that actually this network formed during the intrusion of magma. In this case, we need a magma propagating very fast to create the seals propagated uh, within these channels and create a network. Another possibility is that this network already exists and is a kind of long-lived object in the crust. And this also is in more agreement with other geophysical observation. We know that we have repeated intrusion, or at least we have geophysical evidences of an intruded crust. So in this case, it's possible that this network is already created. So the arrival of the magma in one seal generate a pressure that propagate inside. So maybe it's magma arrive in one or two seals, and the pressure generated by the magma inflow propagate in the other seals.